In this video, we're going to catch up with what's been happening with the price of the two cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum, in recent weeks, and some of the levels to watch if you're trading it in the days ahead. Hello, I'm David Jones, and this is the weekly video I do with Capital.com, where we take a look at the cryptocurrency market. Specifically today, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. What's the best way of describing this market over the last 4 months? I think when it comes to Bitcoin, pretty boring maybe compared to what we were seeing last year. We are seeing this, I think, trading now more like a normal market. You know, we're not seeing the parabolic moves that we were getting towards the end of last year. Some would say that it's even got somewhat dull over recent months. You know, it does trade clearly on a daily basis in percentage terms more than most other normal markets. I think we've got some definite levels to watch, but I also don't think there's any reason to get too excited in the short term. We've just had nothing really in the way of major news moving cryptocurrencies. We had the big meeting in New York, I think last week, the consensus meeting, where we had apparently Lamborghinis being hired. I think the Bitcoin followers, big fans of Lambos, and normally that does move the price, but we saw very little price move after that meeting. There's just no news flow. But let's take a look at some of the levels to look out for when it comes to Bitcoin in the days and the weeks ahead. So here's a daily chart of Bitcoin. What can you say about it over the last 4 months? It's been pretty dull. You know, we had all the excitement clearly end of last year when it went parabolic up to nearly $20,000, came crashing back down towards 6,000 by February, beginning of Feb. Since then, we've had these rallies along the way, but they don't last. And we've just seen over the last couple of weeks, again, another one of these bounces run out of steam. And I think it's a market at the moment that you need to be patient in, which is a difficult one, I think, for lots of people who get maybe caught up in the excitement. Clearly, I think weakness back down towards 7,000. At the moment, we're trading, around 8,200. Weakness back below 7,000 does look like a buying opportunity. We've seen what a good area of support, how it has brought in buyers from sort of 6,000 to 7,000 over recent months. And at the moment, we're still about 1,000 points above that. So there doesn't feel to be any urgency. You know, we get these rallies, but they do run out of steam as people sell out at better prices. Let's take a look on the shorter term chart. So our short term chart here is almost a mini version of the daily chart. These are hourly candles we're looking at. So we see the market rally, build a trend, and then just fall out of the trend. I suppose if you wanted to be an aggressive trader based on where it's trading now, you know, we've seen it over the last few days or so hold ahead of 8,000. So with it trading at 8,200, an aggressive trade would be to be a buyer with stops somewhere below here. But I do think for these cryptocurrencies, it's too easy to get wrapped up in the excitement and the volatility of the short-term charts or the shorter-term charts. But actually, it is the big picture that matters. And for me, you know, I'd want to be trading where we've seen a major turnaround in the past. So maybe in the short to medium term, the risk is we drift lower, but then if it gets back to 7,000, that's when it starts to look interesting again. So we're seeing a similar pattern, recovers for a couple of weeks, then sells off, then we see a recovery again. At the moment, we seem to be in the selling off period. Let's see what happens if we see that support tested. When it comes to Ethereum, it is a little bit different actually. It has been stronger than Bitcoin. The recovery's been a bit more sustainable. So let's take a look at that one. Here's the chart of Ethereum. It does look, I suppose, it is a bit more interesting than Bitcoin. We have had, I think, more of a sustainable recovery over the last couple of months, so through April and to where we are in May. You know, we did see new highs hit for the recovery, at least on the 6th of May. The market's drifted off since then. But if you believe this recovery was still intact, I think it's interesting down here. You know, we've clearly seen support emerge at the lows here when it sold off heavily on this day here, 25th of May. So 600 support, it's dipped down to sort of 650. So there's an argument, well, if we're a buyer here thinking the recovery is going to continue, having stop losses below 600, but I think it's difficult to see much more progress whilst maybe some of the other cryptos like Bitcoin still look a little bit flat. But let's take a look on the hourly chart for Ethereum. So on this chart, we can see, I think, a bit more clearly how that whole sort of 650 to 620 area has propped the price up. You know, going back over the last month or so, it does look pretty sideways, you know, but whenever we've seen it trading down here, we have seen the buyers come back in. At the moment, we did have RSI oversold, so again suggesting that maybe this market has sold off far enough. The last time we had this sort of signal was back here, which didn't do too bad a job, and not a bad job there either for a short-term bounce. So, like I say, if you really wanted to be a buyer here, you know, based on these old levels holding, we have obvious levels for our stops, but I think like Bitcoin, it's the daily that's still, I think, the more important chart for these cryptocurrencies. So Ethereum has managed to hold on to its gains, and for the short-term traders, I think we do have some levels to watch over the next few days, but it does feel as if we need, you know, maybe some startling, groundbreaking news to really kick off the excitement in the cryptos, and we just don't have it yet, but we still have levels I think we can trade off, particularly for Bitcoin. If we see it under a bit more pressure from here, do we see the buyers come back in? That's it for this week for the cryptos. As usual, if you have any questions or comments or a different view, leave us a message in the comments down below. If you like the video, click the thumbs up, and to never miss out on the videos we produce during the week. We look at more traditional markets, indices, trading psychology, technical analysis, all this stuff. So just make sure you're subscribed by clicking on the subscribe button. But for this week from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave it there, and I hope you have a good trading week.